Hello students. So today we are going to start with a new chapter in biology, that is the nervous system. See, nervous system is a very important chapter from the board point of view, and it's one of the easiest chapter at the same period of a time. Only the part is you have to be very cautious because there are a lot of terminology in this chapter. So let's start with the chapter. So before beginning of the chapter with the nervous system, let's understand what I'm making out here. See, what is the color out here? It is red. Okay, now it's blue. This is black. So each and everyone can see of this three different colors, and they can easily distinguish between these colors. So how it was possible to distinguish between these colors? So this is due to your eye. So your eye basically helping you out to see that color and able to differentiate between these three colors. So this all the coordinations, okay, with the help of the eye, okay, the message. See, first of all, what happened? It's your eye was the first point of contact. Okay, it's an eye who saw these three colors, catched, okay, catch this top three colors, and then it transmitted the message to your brain, and again from the brain towards your mouth it passes the message. So all this part was happening in friction of a second, okay, in a fraction of the second it was happening, this part. So this was only possible through this nervous system. So what is the importance, what is the need of this nervous system? See, it always keeps us informed. It always keeps us informed. Like, see, in the start only, what I did is I have given you three different colors to identify. Okay, I have given you three different colors to identify, and you could easily identify each and every color. So it helps us to keep us informed through our sense organs. Suppose, let's take an example in this way. Suppose I am making up a color, but a person who is hearing of this video is a blind person, so he won't be able to identify this color, okay, whether this was a red one, black one, or a blue one. The reason was very simple, because he was a blind, he could not see that object and could not put into the action. Okay, so that is why he was not able to answer that part. But a person who has a perfect eyesight can easily answer these three different colors. So it helps us to keep us informed. Second, it always helps us to remember, think and reason out. Okay, remember, thinking, reason out means what? To give the answers, okay, how to respond to any of the answers. It controls and harmonizes all the voluntary actions. Like, suppose if I tell you pick up a pen, okay, so what you are going to do? You are going to take up the help of your hand to pick up the pen, okay, but with the at the same period of a time you are going to use that eye also. Okay, why? First you are going to see where the pen is kept, then what you are going to do? Then you are going to move that hand towards that pen to pick it up. So all this action was in a proper coordination part, and this was voluntary because it was under our control. But some of the time, some of the actions are not under your control, that are called the involuntary activities. Like, suppose breathing, okay, beating of the heart. See, they all are involuntary in nature. These are not under our control. Beating of the heart, breathing out, okay, and many such examples like that, like blinking of our eye. These are not under our control. So this is the need of the nervous system. Who does all this function, voluntary and involuntary? This is nothing but the nervous system who does of this function. Now the main question. See, if I'm going to tell you who is the structural and the functional unit of life. Structural and the functional unit of life. So you would answer it as a cell. Okay, if I'm going to write the question as Write the structural and the functional unit of kidney. So the answer to that part would be nephrons. So same like that. Who is the structural and the functional unit? Who is the structural and the functional unit of nervous system? So they are the neurons. Okay, who? Neurons. Just remember this name. This is an objective question. Who is the structural and the functional unit of nervous system? It's a neurons. What is a neuron? Neuron means a cell. Okay, it's a special kind of a cell which is present in the nervous system. What does your nervous system is comprised of? It consists of a brain, spinal cord, and the nerves. Okay. See, so unit of a nervous system is it's neuron. Okay. What consists of your nervous system? It consists of the three parts: brain, spinal cord, okay, and the nerves. Brain, spinal cord, and the nerves. And this brain and the spinal cord are made up of this nerves or nerve cells or the neurons. This is a typical structure of a neuron, how the neurons looks like. Okay, this is one of the important diagram from the board point of view. They might ask you to draw or label it up. See, before making you understand about the neuron, let's take a structure of a tree. How does a tree looks like? Suppose this is the stem, this is the bark region, this is the surface. Below the surface we can see these roots, okay, and above that would be the tree part, like the leaves and all. So you can easily identify these structures with this structure. If you could see this part, this is the tree. Okay, there are the branches that okay, these are the branches. So same like that we have the upper body. Okay, this is the leaves part, and through this we can see of this kind of a branches. Then we have the bark. Okay, this trunk region. So again here we have the trunk region. Then we have the roots. So same like that we have here also. So this neuron is nothing but typical kind of a structure. You can assume like this. It's a typical kind of a structure like a tree, who has the branch, trunk, and the roots. Let's understand the name. So first I'm going to make you explain the head region. Okay, the topmost part is called as the pericardium or the cyton, or it could be called as the cell body also. Okay, pericardium means what? Which surrounds the nucleus. See, carrion is a word like karyotic, which you have heard last year. Karyotic, prokaryotic and eukaryotic. So word carrion means the nucleus part, and the word peri means what? Surrounding. So which surrounds the nucleus. Okay, pericardium. The second structure is the axon, which we have resembled like the bark of the tree. Okay, like this. This is the axon, and the lower part, which means the roots part, are called as the axon endings. Why they are called as the axon ending? Because they are at the bottom of the axon, where the axon gets end, proper axon gets end. The branches that comes out are called as the axon endings. Now one by one we are going to learn about the structures inside. Cyton. What consists of a cyton? We could assume like a cell. Inside a cell there is a nucleus. There is a cytoplasm which is filled with these granules. Okay. And then the branch that ooze out. Okay, the branch will get ooze out. It's nothing but the dendron. And the branches, okay, that get easily, okay, it gets more divided are called the dendrites. Okay, you can assume like this. Okay, dendron is a branch. Okay, dendron is a branch, and dendrites are the projection that comes out from this branch. Suppose there is a tree, this is a branch, this is a branch. Okay, and there are more branch like this. Okay, same like that, you can assume like this. The main branch is called the dendron, and more branches that comes out, okay, that project out from this dendron are called the dendrites. Okay, just make, and these are the Nissl granules. Nissl granules mean nothing but the granules. Okay, the dot appearance like this. Then we will come on the axon part of the body. Okay, see, inside the axon we could see the nucleus. Okay, we could see the nucleus, and there is the outermost covering. The outermost covering is called as the neurolemma. Okay, neurolemma. And the innermost, see, there are two kind of a protective cover. The outer one is called the neurolemma, which protects the neuron from the outside, and there is one more inner covering, that is called as the myelin sheet. See, in animal cells we were having, see, sorry, not in animal cells, we were having in plant cell we was having cell wall, which is the outermost, and there was one more protective cover, that is the cell wall. So same like that, we have the true protective covering. The outer one is called the neurolemma, and the innermost is called the myelin sheet. Neurolemma protect it from the outside environment, and myelin sheet covers it from the inner environment. And we can see this part very well. See, we could see these gaps. We could see these gaps. These gaps are nothing but the node of Ranvier. Okay, the gap between these myelin sheets are called as the node of Ranvier. And axon terminals, these are the lower part is called the axon terminals. What are axon terminals? Axon terminals, it's like when the axon get end, the branches that comes out like dendrites, okay, like dendrites are called as the axon ending. And in this axon ending, see, I'm going to zoom this part for you so it becomes very easy to understand. These are the branches. Okay, they will have a knob like structure, like this knob like structure. What is there inside this knob? There is the chemical which is stored in this bulb like projection. Okay, the end portions of the axon has the swollen end length bulbs which store the chemical called the neurotransmitter. So just remember this word, it helps to store up the chemical called the neurotransmitter. And one more and the most important part, it could be an objective part. See, this is a cytosine, right? This is a cytosine. This cytosine has almost all the cell organelle, okay, except for one, that is the centrosome. Centrosome. What is the function of the centrosome? See, we have studied about the chapter called the chromosomes. What is the function of the centrosome? Centrosome is a cell organelle which has the ability to divide. But as this centrosome is not present, okay, as this centrosome is not present in this cell body, it has lost their ability to divide. Okay, because neurons are fixed in nature. Okay, once they get mature, they does not get divide. Okay, so the structure of the neuron does not consist of the centrosome because it has lost the ability to divide. Now some of the basic terminology I'm going to use for you, that is the stimulus, Then we are going to use the word called response, then impulse, receptor, and the effector. This all the terminology are going to use, we are going to learn about each and every terminology. But before moving towards this terminology, just keep this in your head that this is one of the important terminology, because this words will come again and again. So it's better that we would understand it in better way. So let's start. Stimulus. What do you mean by stimulus? Stimulus is an agent, okay, which cause up a sudden change from the external environment that result in the change in the organisms of the body part. If I have to tell what is a stimulus, so it would be quite better to tell you, suppose a hot object. First I am going to give you an example so it becomes very easy for you to understand the terminology fast. Suppose let's take an object, and this object is very hot. Okay, this object is very hot. So what is going to happen if I'm going to touch this object? If suppose with my fingers, okay, with my fingers, if I'm going to touch this object, so what is going to happen? Immediately I'm going to remove my hand. Okay, immediately I'm going to, the object will be here only, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove my hand. Why I've removed my hand? The reason is the receptors. The reason is the receptor. There are 5 different types of the receptors, okay, which you have already covered in your lower standards. Receptor means nothing but the 5 sensory organs. That is the eye, okay, nose, ears, tongue, and the most prominent is the skin. These are the 5 receptors. Okay, suppose I am touching up this object with my hand, so what is going to happen? I am going to remove my hand. So this was the effect. Okay, that is nothing but the effect. And what do you mean by the word response or impulse? See, response could be if I am going to remove my hand, okay, or I am going to hold that object, so that would be a response. So response means what? See, whenever you receive of the message, whenever you receive of this message, so you receive this message from the receptor, okay, and when the brain starts to give you a command, okay, when the brain starts to give you command that remove up your hand, so what you do, you remove your hand. Means what you are doing, you are responding. But where you are responding, see, if your object is in your hand, so you are going to remove your hand from there, okay. If suppose a beam of light which is entering into your eye, so what you are going to do, you are going to close your eye, so the effector part would be the eye. But in case of the hot object, the effector part was the hand, okay. See, stimulus you can assume like this, stimulus in a more easier term I can say the word object. It could be any of the object. Examples, like suppose any of the heat object, okay, suppose an iron nail which is very sharp, okay, which can cause a lot of pain. What do you mean by response? Response means what? After resulting in the change due to the stimulus, after receiving the change due to the stimulus is called the response. Then there is a term called the receptor. Receptor, like 5 sensory, with the 5 sensory organs you are going to catch that actions, okay, and taking that actions toward your brain. Is with the help of this receptor. And what is the effector? Where that action was occurring, okay, where that action was occurring, where it was getting affected. Suppose you were touching it with the hand, so you are going to remove with the hand, okay. Suppose an iron prick into your legs, so what you are going to do, you are going to remove your leg from that part. So effector is the place, okay. Now what do you mean by the word impulse? Impulse means what? To carry message. In an easier word, to carry message. To carry message. Now it could be easily understand. It could be easily understand like this. Suppose first there is a stimulus, means the object. Okay, then that stimulus, I've touched that object, so with my hands, okay, to receptor, because I received. What I did, I carried that message to the brain. And what was the function of that brain? It immediately tell my hands, okay, effector means where the hand part, because the hot object was in my hand, so effector means that part. And what is my response? That I'm going to keep that object, okay, I'm going to remove my hand from that part because it is very hot. So how this stimulus to receptor, from receptor to effector, from effector to response, how this process took place? Due to the impulse. Impulse means what? It helps to carry the message, okay, it helps to carry the message. Now how does the transmission, okay, how does a transmission occurs in the nerves? Let's understand. The first phase is called the resting region, okay. Resting region is also called as the polarized state according to the biology. What happens in this stage? Suppose this is the nerve cells, okay, suppose this is the nerve cells, this, okay, assume like this. This is the nerve cells. All the positive ions, all the positive ones are outside the nerves, and all the negative ions are inside the nerves. We can see in this resting phase. This is called the resting phase. But suppose I am touching an object which was hot, so definitely it is going to cause up a sensation. Suppose I am touching up a object which was hot. The place where the place where that effect took will change up their ions, okay. The positive ions will move inwards and the negative ions will move outward, because the nerve cells are permeable in nature, okay. The nerve cells are permeable in nature. So what is going to happen? If the nerve cells are permeable, so it is going to allow the plus ions inside that nerve cell and the negative ions move outside. As this phase have caused up a change, this is called as the excited region, okay. The change where it took place is called the excited region. Now this region, okay, who has changed up this polarized state, it's called as the word depolarization. Depolarization means what? Changing of the polarized state. Word de means the change only, okay. Changing of the polarization. Now this region is called the excited region, and the rest of the region, okay, which is normal, you can see out here, which is normal, it is called as the resting phase. Now this is the point of the depolarization, which become a stimulus for the next neighboring area. So this message, see, this impulse would be carried further. See, now in the earlier we could see here, but in the second phase we could see this message which is carrying further, okay, towards the brain. So this is showing that this message is going forward in a unidirectional. So that is why there is a single arrow out here. Now this region is an excited region because they have changed their ions. But if you notice where the original okay, where the original excited region was here. Okay, now it got shifted towards here. But if you can see this part very perfectly, the negative ions which was outside the nerve cells again came back into its original position. Okay, again came back into its original position. So this is called the recovery region or the repolarization. Okay, it is called the recovery region or the repolarization. The repolarization means what? Coming back again into its normal position. It's called the repolarization. So this was the transmission of the nerve cells which was taking place. See, in this phase and this phase, if you could see, there was the excited region, and this excited region changes here. Okay, this excited region was there in the start, and then it changes out here. Okay, and in which the sodium was taking place. Okay, so this was only possible through the sodium. So this is also called as the sodium pump. This is also called as the sodium pump, because this plus ions was nothing but the sodium. So that is why they are called as the sodium pump, and this was only possible through the energy. And what is the energy? That is the ATP. So conduction of the nerve impulse is a wave of depolarization followed by repolarization with the help of this sodium pump using up the energy through the ATP. So all these phases, okay, depolarization and repolarization was occurring through this sodium using up the energy in the form of ATP. Now what do you mean by the word synapse? See, I'm going to make a nerve cell for you. Then the axon terminals. Axon terminals. So see, this is the first cell which has been denoted by a letter A, and this is the second which is denoted by a letter B. So we can see this part very well. This is the axon terminal. Okay, this is the axon terminals, and these are nothing but the dendrites. Okay, the branch which gets projected out from the dendron are called the dendrite. So we can see what is a synapse then. It's a point of contact between the terminal branches of the axon of a neuron with the dendrite of the another. See, these are the terminal branches. These are the terminal branch of one neuron, and these are the dendrites. And these are the dendrites of another neuron, and they are separated by a gap. If you could notice the diagram perfectly, I have kept a gap in between. I have kept a gap between these two neurons, A and B. This gap. Okay, this gap is called as the synapse. This gap is called as the synapse. Okay, synapse means a gap between, okay, a fine gap between the axon terminal and the dendrite of another neuron. See, there was the axon term. And see, in the last part I've said you they are the bulb which stores up some of the chemical. That chemical is called as the neurotransmitter. Okay, the chemical is called as the word neurotransmitter. So they will tell you in exam, okay, write an example of a chemical of a neurotransmitter. Okay, as neurotransmitter is a chemical, so what is the function of that neurotransmitter? The function of this neurotransmitter is to transmit the message, okay, to transport of the message. So it is only possible with a chemical which is called acetylcholine, which is released from this bulb kind of a projection, which stores up the neurotransmitter, and it releases the chemical called as the acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is nothing but the chemical which has been secreted by this neurotransmitter in order to carry the message forward to the next neuron. And in our body there are millions of neurons, so they transmit up the message through this synapse only. See what I did, this was the now I'm not going to make the whole diagram, understand like this. Okay, axon terminals, this axon terminals, the dendrites will transmit up this, they will secrete up these chemicals. And what is going to do this neuron? This neuron will take this chemical inside and will transmit the message through this impulses and convert this message into impulses, so it becomes very easy to carry up the message to the next neuron. So this synapse keeps on occurring in our body, because it although have to travel towards your brain. So how many types of neurons are present in our body? There are 3: sensory, motor, association. What are sensory neurons? Sensory neurons are those neurons which carry the message from the sense organ towards the brain. See, the word sensory means what? Sense organ, which carry the impulse. Impulse means the message, okay? Sense organs towards brain. Okay, from sense organ. It could be 5 sense organ, okay? Eye, nose, ear, tongue, and the skin. What are the motor neurons? It carry the impulse, the message from the nervous system. Nervous system means like your brain or the spinal cord to the effector. It is going to work reverse of the sensory neuron. It will carry the message from brain to the effector part. Effector part means what? The incident where it took place. Okay, on which muscle or gland it took place. And what is the association neuron? Association neuron is nothing but a junction between a motor neuron and the sensory neuron, and this association neuron is situated in the brain. Now, what do you mean by the word nerves? Nerve is a bundle of nerve fibers of separate neurons which is enclosed in the tubular sheath. Suppose, what is a nerve? Nerve is a bundle of nerve fibers of separate neurons, okay, which are enclosed in the tubular sheath. Let's understand. This is a tubular sheet. Okay, inside this tubular sheet there are the neurons which are present out here. See, these are the neurons which are present. These are the axon part of the neuron which is present in this tubular sheet. It's called the nerves. We can see with the help of this diagram also. This is the tubular sheet, and inside this tubular sheet what is there? The axon. And what is the axon? The middle part, okay, the central part of the body of the neuron. Like we have the three types of the sensory, three types of the neurons, we have the three types of the nerve as well. The sensory nerves, motor nerve, and the mixed nerve. Okay, see, what is the function of the sensory nerves? The sensory nerves bring the impulses from the receptor towards the brain. So again, see, the function brings the receptor to brain is with the help of the sensory nerves. Just take an example to understand. Like see, suppose we see with the help of the eye in order to distinguish color or in order to see any of the changes in the environment. Okay, so the nerve which is present, the nerve the the nerve which is present in the eye is the optic nerve. Okay, with the help of this optic nerve we could easily see up any of the object and we can transmit the message to the brain. Then the second part, they are the motor neuron. What are the motor nerves? Motor nerves are work reversely in the sensory part. Okay, what is the function of these motor nerves? They bring up the message from the brain or spinal cords to the effector organ to bring them in the action. From brain to the eye part. Mixed nerve. It consists of both, that is the sensory and the motor fibers. Okay, sensory neurons and the motor nerves. Example, spinal nerve. It consists of both. Okay, like see, suppose this is sensory and this is the mixed one, so it serves as a junction between them, this mixed nerves, because it helps to transmit of the message. It works as an intermediate, means the middle part. Okay, junction. Then there is a one more terminology, that is the ganglia. Okay, this is the aggregates of the nerve cells from which the nerve fibers may arise or enter into. See, if you have seen this structure, okay, what is there inside this tubular sheet? These are the axons. Okay, these are the axons which are present. So what is the above part of the axon is called the cyton. Okay, the word called cyton, or you can call it as a cell body also. So what are the ganglia? See, they are the aggregates. Aggregate means what? Sum means plus of the nerve cells, that is the cell body from which the nerve fiber may arise or enter into. So the sum of this ganglia part. See, 1, okay, this aggregates of the nerve cell from which the nerve fibers may arise or enter into, it's called the ganglia part. There are two major divisions of the nervous system, that is the central nervous system and the second one is called the peripheral nervous system. What is central nervous system consist of? The central nervous system is consist of brain and spinal cord. And why it called as the central nervous system? Because it lies at the center of your body. Suppose this is a brain, and where the spinal cord is lie out here. Okay, that is why it is called the central nervous system. And the second one is called the peripheral nervous system. What do you mean by a peripheral nervous system? The peripheral nervous systems include the nerves part. Okay, nerves part. See, this is the spinal cord, this is the brain, but there are nerves, okay, which helps to regulate our body. See, because of this nerves only they can carry up the message and they can transmit the message towards the spinal cord and then towards the brain. So this is the nerves who help them to convey up the message towards the brain. Then there is PNS. Okay, so PNS, as I already said, it consists of the nerves. So they control basically two different types. See, there are two different types of PNS. First one is the somatic, and the second one is the autonomic. The word somatic means related to the body. Okay, as this word is related to the body, it will help in the voluntary actions of the body. It controls all the voluntary muscles like running, okay, picking up any of the things. So this was only possible through this somatic nervous system. But autonomic means what? Which are involuntary in nature. These muscles are involuntary in nature. Like suppose heart muscles. Heart muscles are not under our control. They regulate automatically. Okay, they regulate automatically when to beat fast, when to beat slow. So this regulation occurs automatically inside our body. So that is why they are called as the autonomic, because they take the place on their behalf only. Okay. Then brain. See, brain is a very delicate organ which is well protected inside the brain box, and the brain box is called the cranium. Okay, cranium of the skull. So we know the part skull. Okay, and what do you mean by brain box? Brain box helps to protect up your delicate organ, that is the brain, because brain is one of the important organ of your body. If your brain does not functions perfectly, so there is a disorder in your body. So brain is that important because it is a part of the central nervous system. So the chapter has been divided like this: the brain, spinal cord, and the nerves. Brain, spinal cord, and the nerves. So let's understand. Meninges, very important part. See, about the brain, you should know that part. It consumes 25% of the oxygen in your body. Okay, see, the most oxygen is taken in by the brain, that is around 25%. Almost 1/4 of the oxygen is consumed by the brain. So now a question arises, why brain need a lot of oxygen than the other organs like heart? Okay, like we have the legs, hands, eye, each and everything is there, but 25% has been consumed by this brain. The reason is very simple, because we think, we remember each and everything through our brain only. Brain is the one who commands our body. So that is why it needs a lot of oxygen, because it works 24/7. Then meninges. See, the brain is protected by a covering. Okay, the brain is protected. Suppose this is a brain. Okay, this is the brain. So it is protected by a covering, which is called as the meninges. This is the meninges. They consist of three different parts: dura mater, acnoid, and the pia mater. So they might ask you, can name the membranes of the meninges. So they are dura mater, acnoid, and the pia mater. You can understand in a shortcut like this: DAP. Okay, the dura mater is the outer one. Suppose this is a brain. So I'm going to make a 3 layers for you. One, second layer, and third layer. The outermost layer is it's called dura mater. It is the outermost and the most toughest of all. Okay, and it is the most toughest of all because the word dura means the tough only. Okay, dura comes from the word called durable, long lasting, which is very tough. Okay, the second is the actinoid. The word actinoid means this is the second membrane, this is the middle one, but this is the thin delicate. Okay, this is a thin layer. It has this arachnoid has the shape like a web. Okay, like a spider, because the word arachnos, okay, arachno means the spider, and you know okay, how the spider forms up the web, so that is why the name came like arachnoid. And the innermost, the third one, it's called the pia mater. This is the thinnest of all. Okay, this is the thinnest of all, and this is the most innermost, and it is highly vascular in nature. What do you mean by the word vascular in nature? Vascular means what? See, many of a time this word is going to come in biology. Okay, this is vascular, means which consists of high blood vessels. Okay, if they said okay, this is a vascular system, means it consists of the blood vessels related. Okay, the thing which is related to the blood is called the vascular system. See, we can see this part here perfectly. See, this is a brain which has been zoomed out here for you. Okay, we could see this part as a brain, and this is the meninges. See, this is a brain and this is the meninges. But if we are going to zoom this part, brain and the meninges, see, this is the brain. See, we could see this three different colors layer. Okay, one which is in blue in color, second purple, and the third one is the brown color. The brown is nothing but the dura mater. Second layer is the arachnoid, and the pia mater, which is quite light blue in color, is called the pia mater, which is highly vascular in nature. Means here the blood supply, okay, here the function of the blood supply takes place. From here the brain takes in the oxygen and all. And the most important one, see, we know that the dura mater, okay, see, this is a brain. Okay, see, this is a brain and this is the dura mater. Between this brain and the meninges there is a layer called the dura, which is the outermost. The fluid, okay, the fluid which is present between the dura mater and the brain is called the cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, what is the function of this cerebrospinal fluid? It acts like a cushion to protect the brain from the shocks. Okay, so basically this cerebrospinal fluid helps or prevent the brain from getting any of the shocks. Okay, any of the mechanical damages, it protects the brain from. So this is one of the important part. Okay, and this is the watery fluid, okay, the cerebrospinal fluid, and this cerebrospinal fluid leads toward the spinal cord also. So that is why the word cerebro and spinal has been called, because the word cerebro means related to brain and the spinal means related to the spine. So where this cerebrospinal is presented between the brain and the meninges. Okay, there are basically three different types of a brain we are going to study, and you have already studied in your lower standard about this part. That is the cerebrum, cerebellum, and the medulla oblongata. So students, for now we are going to stop. Okay, this was the first part of the nervous system. Thank you, students.